Loud. Here we go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce us, and then at the end I'll say, "Oh, thank you so much, Phoebe," and then I'll turn the recording off. You stay on, okay? Don't go off when the recording goes off, and then we'll be able to have a quick goodbye to each other.
Yes, I have got the books that I've published and things, through copies here. I might show them a bit.
Yes, it absolutely.
Yes,
I mean,
yes.
the thing is to
Hold
keep
them
it.
up. Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, books. Well,
yeah.
that might come towards the end. I'll just say I understand.
It's actually at the end, probably.
Yeah, you've written books. And do you have a website?
Yes, Phoebe,
Okay.
Astro Phoebe at BT.
So what I'll say is that you can
I
get in
get
touch with.
up always with my email address.
So what I'll say is that,
astrophoebe.com.
yeah, I'll say you can get in touch with Phoebe. I'm putting all the links below and the title of the book.
And the website, yeah.
Yeah. So don't worry about that. Okay, are we ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, welcome to the astrology interview. I'm Sue Brain, and today I have with me Phoebe Wyss. Now, Phoebe has been astrologer 45 years. That's a long time. You kind of, yeah, you're almost like coming out of the womb wanting to be an astrologer. And you kind of specialize in experiential astrology, which I'm really interested as well. So, but sort of kind of within the archetypal view of the cosmos. So I'm fascinated by this. And Phoebe, you told me before we started recording that you feel that you have been on a mission to be an astrologer. So let's start with that. Tell me more. How did this mission come to you?
Well, first of all, I was really very young, a primary school child, and I became fascinated with the stars and the planets. And I would go out on a winter's evening because I had to go to bed quite early in those days. I would go out when it got dark on a winter's evening. And if it was clear, look up at the sky. And I would just stay out there sometimes for a rather long time. Mother used to get worried. And she used to come out and say, well, what I was doing. And I was just sort of sitting there, looking at the stars and sky. And I became very interested in planets. They were fascinating me. So I went round to our little library. It was a little local library, not many books in it. And I asked for a book about astronomy. And I was given this book, which I have today. I've kept old things and old books from my childhood. And it told me all about the stars and planets and the galaxy. There wasn't much about galaxies in those days, but, it was mentioned. And I thought then at school, when I went to secondary school, I started saying that I wanted to be an astronomer when I grew up because I didn't know the word astrology. I certainly did not know its difference.
It just wasn't around. Nobody spoke about it.
No, we're back in the 1950s now.
Yeah.
Yes, I was born a war baby in 1941. Yeah. So I had this book, and I decided I wanted to become an astronomer. And then when I got to 15 and took O levels, I realized that I hated maths, and I wouldn't be able to become an astronomer unless I studied maths as well as maths and physics and things like that.
Yeah.
So and it was at that time that somebody said to me, oh, perhaps you mean an astrologer instead of an astronomer.
So how old were you about now?
About 14, something like that.
And somebody said to you the word astrologer.
Yes, I can't remember. I think it was my aunt or something. Yes, who was interested, who read the newspaper, astrology, because we didn't have that sort of newspaper. And I thought, well, perhaps it is. So I started finding out about astrology. And before I left school, I decided, although I went to study English, that I was going to be an astrologer.
Wow. And that was like, no question, that was your path. Because you're a Piscean, aren't you?
I'm Pisces, but I've got a nice strong Mars in Capricorn in the 5th house. And I've got Taurus moon and Taurus Uranus conjuncting moon in the 10th house, the house of the career. So
Isn't that interesting? So there's
yeah.
Uranus, the astrologer in the 10th.
Yes, yeah.
Ah,
So and I've got a nice aspects to them from the sun. So
mm.
I was academically good, and I got an MA in the end in English, and then yes, and I didn't start straight away with astrology because I got a job teaching English abroad, and that's where I met my first husband, and therefore people call me Mrs. Wyss by mistake. And I say no, Mrs.
Rather than
Wise.
wise.
Mrs. Wise
Wise is a much better name.
is a name for an astrologer.
So were you while you were kind of doing what the English, were
Yeah,
you still interested in astrology? Were you still studying astrology?
yes. Though I didn't have much time in those days because I also had 2 children pretty quickly after getting married and going to Germany actually. Um, and yes, so I had a very busy life and I was kept, on my toes by all that. But then as they got older, the children, and I had more time, then I studied it seriously. Or when they went to school, I don't know, and I had more time. And the first books were coming out in the 70s, which was very appropriate, just the right time. The first Liz Green books, for example.
Yes. I mean, she really was, she really did help kick this off. She and
Yes.
Howard Supportis and all of these. And actually, Rick Levine was all part of that as well.
Yeah.
He's not quite as old as they are, but he's getting up there.
No, but there were some
He's
other names.
70.
They escape me now. But there were some other names of the real founders.
Yes. And
Of
they
the
kept,
new
they
psychological astrology. Yeah.
absolutely. It's incredible what they did actually. Yeah. So you'd say that, and I think, we need to pay homage to them because we wouldn't be sitting here without them, actually. I certainly wouldn't be. And you talk about specializing in experiential astrology. Just explain what that means to us.
Yes. Well, perhaps I ought to put in another step after the psychological
Oh,
astrology to get there. And yeah, I went to India much against my first husband's wishes. He was totally against it, but only for a few weeks. And I went to an ashram, and there I was introduced to meditation. And it's my experience of meditation, which is as old as astrology, really, started then, that first of all gave me the confidence to do the first charts for other people. I was doing charts for myself. It must have been about 4 years before I dared to do a chart, read a chart for somebody else, because I thought we can do so much damage as astrologers
that is so true.
if we have the wrong approach, and if we tell them especially things about the future which can be self-fulfilling prophecies. And I did
Absolutely.
come
It's
to
about
the
themes, isn't it?
yeah,
Yeah, we
I
don't know
thought
how it's
there's a
going.
lot of responsibility.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So what happened then for you?
So the meditation, which was involved with really looking at yourself, therapy, because you can't meditate unless you can go inside and look at yourself, made me more interested in the experience than the knowledge of astrology. Because with knowledge, it just goes in the head. And a lot of people I've met who actually are also working astrologers, but they are still coming from the knowledge of astrology. They might have it in their memories, but it's not their own experience, if you see the difference. So I felt that astrology was a wonderful tool for growth, and I had been doing groups in what was called the growth movement back in the 1980s and 90s, you know, and it was self development, but also spiritual development. And I became convinced that astrology could be used in this way to give people experiences which would make them generally wiser of their patterns, if their patterns were self-destructive, for example, or if they were stuck in a rut, you know, and doing the same thing and regretting it over and over again, like we all are, really. And I can't say I'm not, in spite of all this work on myself. It's easy to fall back in that, isn't it?
It sure is.
So that's what I mean by experiential astrology. It's astrology that gives people experiences. It's not only of themselves, because in relationships you're getting more experiences of others, which help your relationships. But basically, that's helping you, you know. So
yes, it's your mirror, isn't it? It's
mirror.
yeah, it's what you kind of also kind of what you don't own as well. It can be that, can't it? That sort of projection onto somebody else. Oh. And the growth is actually learning to say, oh, this is all me.
Yes, that's right. But that can be an abstract thought, and until you actually find it in yourself.
Can you give me an example or a couple of examples of experiential astrology, how that shapes somebody?
Yes. Well, I've been doing groups. Well, I gave talks for many years, and have, you know, and have had in-person groups. I founded the Brighton and Hove Astrology Circle, which is coming up to its 20th anniversary this year, this month actually. We're going to celebrate. So I'd had that sort of before COVID, that sort of experience. And I'd always had an evening at home in my house on the full moon, whichever day it fell, and we did a full moon group with a meditation first, and then people would go into themselves and look at their feelings on that night of the full moon. I wouldn't tell them anything about it until they'd looked at themselves and see how they were feeling. And it was very often that was the right way to start, rather than telling them about the sign of the full moon and its aspect.
Yes, that's the experiential. How are you feeling with this? Of course.
Yes. And I found I did this with bigger groups on in-person meetings, the Brighton Astrology Circle. But I found it was always much more intensive in small groups where one wasn't, you know, distracted by other people's stories and things, or chatting to other people more, and not really concentrating, you know, in the bigger groups. So the small groups have been my speciality for many years, and I've had since lockdown, when we only had a few people, and they were sitting around in 2 meters. But it worked, and they still came. And no, I don't think anybody caught COVID at my place. So, but then since then, I've been doing a series of themes. When we're approaching our charts in slightly new ways, I'm quite inventive with my ideas of how to do things. And the last one was called Pilgrim's Progress. And it was a 12-week, 12 meeting, because we meet twice a month, not every week. A 12 meeting cycle of going round the zodiac in your chart, starting with the first house, and having a look above all at the karmic planets, as I call them, which the big ones, the biggies.
We're talking about the transpersonal here.
Yes, yes. And but above all those, because they interest me the most. I've forgotten to say, I've also had many years ago I got a qualification as a past life therapist, and I've been working with those who are open to it, who come, you know, and most people are. I've been weaving in my experience from that as well. So that's what happens in the group. So we look at the Pluto, the ruler of that house, which will be sort of different in many cases. And then we look at the planets in that house, in the first house, let's say. And then we look at the aspects, but above all, the transpersonal planet aspects. And we look at the moon nodes, and we look at Chiron, very important, I've discovered.
Very.
And so these things actually will usually point to a very important side of our personality that we might have overlooked, you know. And actually, in my chart, because I do it with myself, and I even do it in front of the others. I give my planets and things. In my case, doing that has led to me recognizing my Pluto Chiron 12th house. That's where the negative things are hidden from view, but because they were there in past lives. And it's Yod, it's finger of fate, over to my Venus and Mercury in the 7th house.
And how has that played out for you?
It played out for me that I have suffered a lot from Plutonic people in this life. It's been a kind of helpless suffering. They've always been somehow more powerful than me, to upset me and to, you know, to make me dwell on. But I have not discovered that side in myself. The Plutonic side, the wishing harm to people, you know. I have my conscious personality has been wishing good and wishing the best.
Yes.
Trying to help people the best. But I became aware when I saw that Pluto and Chiron there, that there were some people, especially the people I met in life, who really, the Scorpio, a few Scorpios, for example, who really made me go through the briar bush, you know. that was, but that's my chart, so it's also in me. And I recognized that I had not really forgiven them. I could not. My motto is to forgive and forget.
Yeah, well, that's very Pisces, isn't it?
Yes, but I was still harboring some hate against them. Hate, even. I would never have used it consciously about myself, because I am usually seen as with a 7th house Pisces sun with Venus and Mercury there, as a sort of loving and feeling person. So, but there was hatred in me still towards some of them. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, it's that interesting. I always look at Pluto, where Pluto is in a chart, because I think that, you know, that holds the, well, that's a sort of the holds the undercurrent of who we are, that hidden stuff inside, you know.
The side we don't the least want to show, the least.
Yeah, we don't want to show that. That's horrid.
Yes,
If we do, or we own it, or it comes out in somebody else's behavior, then that's the gift, isn't it? To say, do you know what? I'm going to take that one on the chin.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's really challenging work, though, isn't it? When you go that deep. it isn't, this isn't sort of surface transmutation stuff. This is massive transformation of the soul. And I call it, like, you know, the magnum opus. It's the great work of the, you know, which the Hermetics talk about,
Yes.
the great transformation of the soul. So that's really interesting. And I just want to ask you this, as you specialize in past lives, Phoebe, in my experience, often planets, well, planets in the 12th house can hold the key to sort of hidden family ancestry, or the patterns that you're carrying through from the ancestry legacy that needs to come out into the open. How do you look at that?
It is certainly the case in my chart, because there's family secrets and no-go areas and things we mustn't talk about in the family that have happened, you know.
Yeah.
And I would expect that looking at that Chiron Pluto conjunction in the
That's well, I'm not going to say this is for you, obviously, but I would imagine that's pretty unpleasant stuff has gone on in the family that needs clearing. Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. So if you have, let's say, Pluto on the ascendant, maybe in the first house rather than the 12th, how would you, I mean, it's so difficult without the whole chart, but as a sort of archetype, how would you read that?
Well, the people I've known with Pluto on the center or the first house, because I look at, you know, the I do equal houses, by the way. It's somehow
Me
much
too.
not whole sign houses, but
No,
equal.
no, equal houses. Yeah.
Yes, and I look at Pluto in the first house, the whole first house of this. There's an energy about these people, you know. It's like, I don't know, it's more than electricity. You can feel it in them, the ones that I've known. And I don't think I've known of anybody with Pluto exactly on the ascendant, but certainly in the first house. And of course, the closer it is to the ascendant, I think the stronger it is. But there's this energy there, which is a bit scary otherwise. But do you know, when I was young, I was attracted to this energy in men. I thought it was, you know, oh, that's really intense, you know, not la 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 like a lot of the
Yeah.
guys.
It's sort of like the James Bond thing, isn't it? You know, underneath the sort of veneer is
Yeah.
this something else going on. I do know somebody who's got Pluto on their ascendant, and they have had, there is something about them which I'm never quite comfortable with, I'll be honest with you. But this person has, their daughters died. They had very difficult relationships. Their daughter died, followed by their grandson. So Pluto has brought in huge transformational experiences through loss and grief.
And what's the transit at present?
Oh,
Oh,
I don't know. I haven't
in
seen.
the
I haven't
transit.
seen it. I can't remember her chart.
Okay.
This no, I don't want to go further into the
We
chart.
all get that by transit, of course, you know.
Yes, no, but this is natal. So
Yeah.
they've never had an easy time.
Wouldn't all get it, because it only does a half cycle of
Yeah.
things. Yeah.
But it's interesting, isn't it? That there's always been this, ooh, this person has had to really face profound loss, and through that loss,
Yeah.
they've really transformed themselves
Mm.
within the context of who they are. Because, you know, what is transformation? You know, I've been reading a lot about Hermeticism recently, and the Gnostic teachings, and this got a sense of this great transformation. But how do you interpret the great transformation? Is it possible?
Yes, but you have to it, drop the thing. You have to just drop it and walk away and go into your present life. That's
What do you mean? What do you mean by that?
don't stopping dwelling on your pain and suffering. I mean, this is afterwards. This is in the aftermath. Of course,
Yeah.
you must suffer first of all
Yeah.
when these deaths happen.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
in the aftermath, you know, there's these people that all their lives they're grieving for their husband who died 40 years ago, or wife or whatever, you know, can't find another, you know, then you've just got a life where you're stuck emotionally. And it's important to forgive and forget and drop and move into the present life, which has already gone further. Yeah.
So absolutely. So when you say drop, is there how, what context does that,
Well, first of
what
all,
shape does that take?
thinking about it.
It's
And
easy to say don't think about it. It's really hard to
of
do.
course, and that's why we do learn meditation. It becomes easier, but you still don't master it even after 40 years of meditation, in my case. But it is a certain percentage easier to do. Yeah. And that's why, although I've got plenty of reason at the moment to look very miserable, I I am quite happy because I've dropped some things. Yes.
Or would you say dropping things is that you've processed them, that you've
Well,
come to terms with them, that they walk
actually, doing
beside
the
you?
no, not processing them. Like going to psychotherapy, that can actually delay the dropping. And in fact, that can make you much more miserable and disturbed, first of all, you know. So that it would be actually learning to meditate and learning to forgive and doing your best to take your thoughts away from the past into the present moment.
That's a toughie.
Yeah, it's
Isn't
very.
it? When life has thrown you a massive curveball, and my experience, I don't know about you, Phoebe, it never just as comes as one curveball. You know, it can be a series of them, and you're just going, I remember one client going, I just can't get away from death. The cat died, my husband left me, my mother died, you know, my brother fell off a, oh, I don't know, the cliff.
Just
You
tell
know,
her it's a transit. Don't worry, it will be over.
yeah,
The best thing about astrology is we can look when it is has a good chance to be over. And I've been right with this with myself and with other people so much, you know, that it
yeah.
started raining and then went, usually with the help of Uranus or something like that. And you can't, you can't do it so easily from but if you know the direction, you can start practicing that. Yeah.
Yes, I think it is about, I think that's where astrology helps, isn't it? It's a map, it's a guide. You can say, oh, hang on a minute, I've got a Uranus in a year's time coming over my ascendant, for example. That normally archetypally is quite a big change in how you present yourself in the world, or how you physically, maybe you want to completely change your way you look. But at least you can go, oh, I kind of know that's on the way. So these feelings I have are completely in tune with the fact that Uranus is coming over my ascendant. Does that make sense to you?
That does make
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
Yes.
So Phoebe, talk a little bit about Pluto, because this is the bit, or Pluto and Saturn, isn't it? That
Yes.
really, those two take us into the underworld, let's face it, on lots of different levels, maybe not quite the same, but they do. Can you just explain how you work with those transits with people as an experiential astrologer?
Well, I have to bring in here that I have had time in the last few years where I've got so many big returns. I've had Saturn returning on my Sun and my Pisces planets, and together with Neptune, doing a half return. And then I've had a Pluto half return, which I've still got. And I've had a Uranus return. So, because I'm 84 now.
Yeah.
So I've had actually all these biggies, either as full returns or half returns. In starting, well, the slow ones, it started a bit earlier, but especially last year. and beginning of this year. And it has I don't need to go into details, but what happened was they put me into a position which was pretty impossible, which involved legal cases and things like that, which I was innocent, and people being two people suing me at once, but also the sale of a flat and an impossible situation there. And it was so emotionally wearing and tiring. And when Uranus came, it's been hanging around, and Pluto is still going back and still going. Yeah, it'll be next spring before that Pluto half transit ends in 2026. But when Uranus finally came and went to past the exactitude, then it all suddenly changed unexpectedly, unexpectedly, totally,
Wow.
in the ways that I thought, the different solutions that I was thinking of. And and I could breathe again. And this is just my latest example. Yeah.
So, Phoebe, what is it like to have a Uranus return? Because a lot of us watching this video might never get to there. I mean, a lot of people might, but you know, it's getting on in life. So what's it like for you to have had your Uranus return?
It is a completion. You remember I said, you asked me your first question as why I thought I wanted to be an astrologer, and that would be my life's work. And it is a kind of completion because yes, I am sort of retiring now. I still do some sessions, especially old clients who come back, you know. But basically, I don't want to do too much astrology work, and I more or less retire. I'm still sort of the president of the astrological circle in a group in Brighton and Hove, but I'm taking a back seat, you know, and I'm doing still a group twice a month, but the people bring their own charts and more or less show the charts and organize it themselves. I'm not actually teaching anything anymore in that way. And that was the astrology, that was the Uranus return, because otherwise the whole, since I was in my 30s, when my crisis started, and became an astrologer to understand life and understand what was happening to me. And then went to India and learned meditation since that time, for about 45 years. I feel that I've done my best with my talents, the talents that I personally have, including writing and putting into words some really difficult concepts sometimes. I feel that I've done my best at that, and that I really have helped a lot of people. I think hundreds of people must have come to me in those years for consultations.
And kind of, do you feel like then Uranus is sort of, I don't know, this is what's come to me, kind of wiping the slate clean, or?
I do feel that. I mean, people live to 90 and into their hundreds. Who knows what the quality, if their inner life is then, you know. They might be physically fit, and you have 100-year-old people who, you know, do long walks and whatever. But it's very, very rare. But inside themselves, it might be just like an old machine running down very a bit more slow than, you know, psychologically and everything. So I do feel that this is quite a good time to go, you know, age 4.
It's a lovely, well, Uranus return, what a great time to go. But when you kind of, do you feel like astrology has helped you during your life to prepare for death? Because that's where we're all going at some point. I know that it has for me, but I was just wondering if it does for you. It's like the completion, or it's opened up your mind to kind of want to die as consciously as you can.
Well, yes, I would say astrology plus meditation, because when you meditate, you realize, that you're not your body simply, and past lives give they are convincing proof, and that you're not your body, but you're also not the present personality necessarily. It has things in common. You can see there might be a kind of development, but I don't really go into that too much because, but I do think that both meditation and astrology give us the experience that we're not the body, and we're not necessarily asked psychological patterns as we are then, though we do take things that are important to need to be clarified in past life, but we don't have to be exactly the same person.
Yeah. So do you kind of think that the next do you think that there is a next incarnation for you, or do you feel like you've done enough, that your soul is awakened enough for
Oh
you to go
no, no,
home?
I'm sure I have to come back. Yeah.
Yeah. Or in whatever context that means.
Yes,
Yes.
but I think that the people who are more aware choose when they come back, but the majority of people just are tumbled by fate into anything.
Yes, I completely agree with that. I think the more conscious that we are, the more consciously that we die, that we do have an opportunity to choose, and
Yes,
maybe to sort of come back as a much more sort of, a teacher, if you like. This is how
well,
it is. I mean, I've been reading a lot about Plato recently, and I think he's probably one of the great teachers of all time. And I guess he must have chosen to come back. Jesus, in the right form,
yes,
originally, as he was a teacher, maybe he chose to come back and teach these wonderful teachings, which is all about, get the plot. Actually, it's love that matters.
that's right. That's right. I
Yeah.
I totally agree with that. Yes, yes.
Yeah, I'm interested in these teachers, and I think there are a few knocking around today, but nothing as for me as Carl Jung was definitely, I think he was a great teacher.
Well, he had an enormous insights, wasn't he? But do you know, I believe that this is not all personal stuff. I believe that the mind is in a field, and there is not only other people's thoughts coming in who are alive, but other people who are not in the body, or and you have to be careful before you own a good idea, a brilliant idea, because especially the geniuses, and I've done a lot of work on Shakespeare. I loved Shakespeare when I was studying English, and since really, and I've done a lot of work on Shakespeare, including writing an article about giving an argument of when Shakespeare was born, and therefore his real chart, because
Wow.
his birth wasn't recorded, but there are some clues like that put him in a narrow window of when he could have been born. So I wrote this article. It was in the AA journal. I've had quite a lot of articles in there. Some of them are on my website if people are interested. But who wrote Shakespeare? And there was enormous, yeah, well, uproar in the group that don't believe Shakespeare wrote Shakespeare, that believe
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
was the Earl of Essex, or
yeah. Yes,
author
yeah,
man Bacon, who
yes. I've heard that too, definitely.
I believe, to prove that he was born on a certain time, and a certain time of on a certain day and a certain time of day, to have a 12th house son. And
Ah,
I believe that although he was an actor
yeah.
and he was a Taurus, and so he was actually really interested in financial security and property. That those are all really human, sides of him. When he wrote his plays so fast for the actors, they wanted to play
Downloaded it.
one of these great. It was channeling. So
Well,
I believe
it
that
must be.
geniuses are channeling very likely, you know.
Yes, I think so.
Yeah,
I think Einstein was one. He just channeled.
I
When you have those just remarkable connections to something greater than you, I
yeah.
completely agree with you on that. And
Mm.
I certainly have experienced the universe talking with me or giving me a task. And I'm sure the universe has given you a task to
Yes,
become an
yes,
astrologer.
yes. And when I'm writing, I notice that there are words flowing. I don't have to think about the word, but they flow,
Yeah,
these words or these ideas, and I feel, okay, I'm in touch with another astrologer in another dimension, and we're working together. So I
yeah,
don't even take pride in my personal authorship of things, because
yeah,
I believe that a lot of it has just come through, you
absolutely.
know, to me while I
Absolutely.
was writing, you know.
I completely agree with you on
Or
this.
with the client as well.
Yeah.
I don't very often don't know what I'm going to say, and I find myself saying such things that they really need to hear. No, really,
Yeah.
not I
And
haven't thought of them. You too.
completely agree with you on that. And it is interesting. I've just been interviewing somebody about mediumship because for me, and I'm sure for you, my psychic awareness is really heightened when I'm reading for somebody and I'm getting information about them that perhaps more technical astrologers won't be in touch with. And there's nothing wrong with that. But
Yeah.
this is the way I read. Oh, definitely, no question about it. And I find that side of astrology like a door opening, really exciting. Phoebe, you've written books, quite
Yes.
a lot of books. Do you
Well,
want to
not
just
a lot, but yes, some. Yes.
you want to introduce us to, let's say, two of them? Because what I can do is,
Yes.
underneath this video, obviously, will be Phoebe's information and her website,
Yes.
and then where you can find her book.
Yes. Okay. Well, this is my most important book.
Inside.
This came out 10 years ago now, but it was quite yeah, adventurous or new in the context I put astrology in here. And I took as the first part is the cosmology, at the context in which I do astrology, the oneness, for example, of everything. And I gave as an example but William Blake, of course,
Of course.
because I had also written my MA about Blake. He has been a guru of mine, my first guru, let's say.
Yeah.
And I once saw his ghost, so he actually,
Whoa. So he might be round you a lot.
yeah. Anyway, he he is his chart is very interesting, especially for people who know his poetry, you know, and which he was actually also channeling, and with the help of his dead brother, who had a very close relationship with. He used to have conversations with his dead brother, you know, as well. So we look at his chart in the second half as an example of um,
Yeah.
inside the cosmic mind, which means a wider understanding and
Yes.
knowledge than we personally have. You know?
I love that, inside the cosmic mind. And that's what it's all about. That's what
Yes,
astrology is all about. That's what
yes,
our work is all about, isn't it? That's it, inside the cosmic
yeah.
mind.
So that's the
Absolutely.
book if you'd like to look
Yeah.
inside your cosmic mind.
Fantastic. Yeah. Phoebe, that's just
Oh,
wonderful. Thank you so much. Is there anything that you'd like to say to folk who are watching? Any sort of like wise word or comment or observation about
well,
astrology or the world or the cosmic mind?
okay. Well, Phoebe Wise. Not so wise sometimes. But I would say, yes, I would advise people to not to do so much, but to stop and not to talk so much, but to listen more. And that is not just to other people, but to the birds and the sounds of the trees, and the wind, to talk to the trees, to talk to the animals, to get away from the very limited human mind with all its prejudices and worries. And that, I think that's a good way of being, also for an astrologer who is relying as well on things coming to them. Yeah.
Phoebe, thank you so much. I found this conversation absolutely fascinating, and I love the whole concept of being an existential astrologer. I think that's, for me,
Experiential.
experiential astrologer, but
Experiential.
this living in the cosmic mind. I just love that.
Mm.
Thanks so much, and to everyone, thanks for listening. And if you've loved this interview, just press a like, and you can always join the gang. Thanks a lot, and take care for now. Bye.
Thank you.